Hi, my name is Haley Heinsman, and this is my naturalistic observation presentation for lifespan psychology with Dr. Cartwright. To begin, I did the first option where I went into a daycare setting, like it says on this slide. I observed a 3-year-old child in the daycare setting. I was there for about an hour. This was a higher cost daycare, and most parents earned higher incomes, according to the director. It's one of the more expensive daycares in the area, which is a suburb of Kansas City. It's also located in a church, so Bible stories and faith were very frequently incorporated in curriculum. In Bible stories and praying, they always prayed before any meals like lunch or any snacks, and they read Bible stories before going to their nap. Their activities included and were not limited to snack free time with toys on the carpet like Legos and cars, recess outside, coloring, circle time, which consisted just of talking about colors, numbers, letters. They also talked about the weather and like days of the week, days of the month, different stuff like that, and then activities coordinating with the theme for the week. Their theme this past week was fall, so they were doing a lot of things with weather and the leaves starting to change colors and stuff like that. The time that I was there, they did some recess outside. They had some free play on the carpet with just different toys, and then they had circle time and lunch. Couple takeaways. First, talking about their physical development and the stages. So according to our textbook by Kale and Kavanaugh, the brain develops rapidly in infancy and early childhood, and our nervous systems determine many different things about us, mostly including our personality. So these children, and this one specific child that I was observing, are currently in their early childhood stages, and their brains are rapidly developing, and this means a lot of things are very impressionable on them, and different things can change how they develop. And the next point to that is every child develops differently, both inside or outside appearance and inside development, such as personality. In this specific daycare setting, it was really obvious to me to see the different levels of development and the different stages that each child was in. The classroom I was specifically in had ages all the way from 2, like just turned 2, to about to turn 5. So 2 to 4-year-olds. And they are all developing very differently at very different levels. And it was really interesting to see both their outward appearance and how tall they were and how big they were growing, and their certain personalities and just their different levels of like education and just what they've already learned and everything like that. Their cognitive development, according to the same textbook, says that children form schemes in early childhood that are based on functional or conceptual relationships. This can be different schemes such as forks and knives are used to eat, and different things like that, and just how these different objects relate to what like they're used for and what they can use them for. And the specific child that I had observed grouped items into certain schemes, such as Legos and dinosaurs as toys to play with on the carpet during their free play time. He was reminded that, oh, these are carpet toys, and he began to group those Legos and dinosaurs and keep them on the carpet, and then his crowns and markers as things to color with and things that stay on the table. So he knew that our Legos and our dinosaurs were toys to be played with only on the carpet, but the crayons and the markers were things that he could color with on paper at the table. So he began to differentiate between the two and put them into those schemes to know carpet and table. Next was his socio-emotional development. According to our textbook again, they mention a lot about attachment. And as an infant, a child and parent form an attachment to each other, and childcare can play into it as well. Children who are in non-parental care for extended periods of time often are more aggressive and have less self-control. This kind of was a bit confusing for me in my certain situation, because he had beneficial relationships with everyone around him for the most part, but would sometimes tend to get aggravated and aggressive I believe he is in daycare every day, but not, from what I understood, the teachers told me, not for an excessive amount, like not like open to close, not 12 hours a day or anything crazy like that. He just tended to be more personal and wanted to be one-on-one with people rather than in a large group setting, and large group settings would tend to make him more frustrated. So to me, it seemed like his attachment was really beneficial and really secure with his parents. He really loved getting that one-on-one time and really loved spending time with people, but got really frustrated and upset when he was not getting enough attention and not getting that one-on-one time that he really longed for. So with that, the interactions with other children and this specific child, he struggled a lot with other children. He didn't want to share and he wanted to play by himself most of the time. And like I said, he really wanted to have that one-on-one time. But then when he did end up wanting to play with his friends, he ended up really frustrated if that friend did not want to play with him, which was just really kind of hard to watch. It set off a lot of temper tantrums where he really wanted to play with somebody else, but they didn't want to play with him. But then when people wanted to play with him and he didn't want to play, when he didn't get his way, he would act out and be aggressive. However, he did really enjoy the table time that we had. He talked to the other children, but everybody was occupied with their own activity, which was coloring for that day. They were coloring on top of leaves for fall week. They didn't have to share or excessively interact with each other, but they were all around each other and all able to talk to each other. And then all got one-on-one help from the teacher with the coloring. And he really thrived off of this one-on-one time and being able to not have to excessively interact, but be able to just minimally talk to his classmates. This leads into his interaction with his caregivers, his teachers. He really, really loved his teachers. He a lot of times asked for hugs, always wanted to be sitting next to them or on their laps, and he would randomly yell out, "I love you," to his teachers. When he would get really anxious or if he had any form of breakdown, he would easily be calmed down with a hug from a caregiver and was extremely affectionate. I also noticed that the caregivers helped him with some breathing exercises and he responded really well to them. But if I tried to step in and help him, he didn't really want anything to do with me, didn't want to breathe with me, didn't want to hug from me. He really wanted his caregivers, which shows really secure attachment to the teachers and caregivers that he has in his daycare, which is extremely beneficial for him. He, again, really thrives off of the one-on-one attention. So, as far as challenges in development, this specific child was experiencing a cognitive challenge when it came to anxiety with this one-on-one. I believe it might have been a form of separation anxiety, just not being able to get one-on-one attention all the time. According to a journal article that I found, it says several studies suggested that parental worry, characterized by a tendency to negatively anticipate possible outcomes towards uncertain events in relation to themselves and their children, may constitute another form of parental cognitive bias that could also contribute to child anxiety. What this is saying to me is that he's very connected to his parents, and when his parents worry, this also leads him to worry, so he takes on his parents' worry or his caregiver's worry. If there's a stressful day, he tends to be stressed out, if that makes any sense. My own personal experience with this whole thing was really interesting. I found a journal article to kind of go with it. According to this paper by Elizabeth Roos, care, keeping children safe and their physical needs met, and love, keeping children emotionally safe, are integral parts of early childhood education, and that educators who care for young children ensure that they are catering to the child's social, emotional, and educational needs in a safe environment. And this really spoke to me because I do also teach, and I stepped into a different classroom to do this assignment. But it's such an important part Especially I noticed with this one child, being able to keep him emotionally safe and have this one-on-one time with him and be able to love him when he needed it was really important. And I really think it should be the backbone of every single childcare facility. Like I said in this next point, the daycare setting is generally high energy, high stress environment, but it needs to be shifted back to love and care for the children. I believe we need to have, if at all possible, just more staff on hand to be able to have more one-on-one experience and more personal experience with the children and be able to love them and care for them in all the ways that we know that they need. Just to continue on that point, these children, as mentioned at the beginning, are extremely impressionable and they're rapidly growing and learning. Everything that happens in these daycare settings, they're taking into their little brains and they're going to apply it for the rest of their lives. So it's really important to be aware of what's going on around them and just how we're teaching them, what we're doing to help them grow and learn. And from my own observation of this one specific child, it really did help to open my eyes to the reality of developmental challenges. Seeing his anxiety at such a young age just shows how easily children pick up on what's going on around them. It was obvious that it wasn't anxiety stemming from like neglect or anything like abuse, anything like that. It was almost anxiety stemming from being loved so well that when he couldn't get that one-on-one love and attention, he was really stressed out and really anxious. And when there was a stressful event happening, such as like a teacher getting frustrated with another child or anything like that, he really picked up on it and it made himself anxious. It just really helps open eyes and helped me to open my own eyes to go back into my own classroom and be able to realize how much of my stress the children are picking up on whenever I am stressed, and just be able to adjust how I teach and how I interact with my own kiddos in my own classroom after seeing this child in this other classroom and the way that he acted. Yeah, these are all my references, and overall this experience was really eye-opening to me. It really helped me to learn about children and how it can be a really crazy thing being a teacher. It really helped with my own professional development in being a teacher. I hadn't really looked at it like this before. I had always just done my job, gone to work, done my job, gone home. Love the kids in the process, have fun with the kids, but I've never really been super aware of all the impacts I was having on them, and I never really got to sit and observe the children. So this was really eye-opening to me, really helpful to me.